I want to go back to something we were just talking about. You were talking about how you find your animators for these projects. Brian from our audience has an interesting question. He says, hand-drawn animation has been making a comeback. For Fix, did you find artists already skilled in 2D hand-drawn animation, or did you bring in veteran animators to guide the younger ones?
We had a mixture of both. I think there's enough really good 2D animators out there, and they're kind of like gypsies. They're kind of going from project to project. Sometimes they're even doing character design, they're not even animating. And then, but when the call goes out, they come out of the woodwork, because there are quite a good number of them. Not as, obviously not as much as in the heyday, but there are a lot of them work on TV shows and stuff. And but what I was very specific though is I didn't want like the harmony or the toon boom style of animation where people animate it almost like hand drawn, but they still do some splining and a little bit of digital manipulation and stuff. I want pure hand drawn animation. And so I wanted that classic look. And so everyone was really class A, and they were inspired by each other. So one of our oldest animators and most experienced is this guy Uli Mayer, and he worked on Roger Rabbit and all these all these movies, and he's incredible, right? And nobody talks about him. They talked about James Baxter and Glenn Keane and the Disney ones that we know. But to nerd out a little bit, Uli has been around for a long time, and because he's more from Europe, from London, uh, he animated a lot of commercials and Lucky Charms and Fruit Loops and all that kind of stuff. And then Roger Rabbit, which was his big break, I think, in a way. And so, but his animation is incredible and as good as anyone else's, And what was great is he understood cartoony animation as much as I understand it. And then when people see his scenes, they're like, "Oh my God, I want to do better." And then they would do it. And that's the best scenario you can have is when the artists are inspired by each other and they want to work harder to make their scenes the best scenes.